Do you know what's new for nurses? What about dementia and caregiving? Are you looking to grow as a leader? And what are the current healthcare leaders doing for you? Welcome to the Angie Graham Podcast. You're listening to the Angie Graham Podcast. Senior living, memory care, healthcare. How do we even begin to think about marketing when we're so busy taking care of others? And is it crucial to our business to be marketing? Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, where do we begin? From free to paid, how do we make it work for us? Welcome, Steven Skeel. Steven Skeel is the producer and co-founder of Seven Wonders Cinema, boasting an Emmy Award for their work. Seven Wonders Cinema has worked with industry leaders like Nickelodeon, Disney, and the U.S. Army, and National Geographic, and so many more. We look forward to hearing your thoughts about marketing in the senior living world. Welcome, Steven.
Thanks so much for having me.
Seven Wonders Cinema has a YouTube channel that's trending everything from marketing to camera work and a podcast. And that is how we found you. Give us a quick rundown on what Seven Wonder Cinema is.
Yeah, so we are a video marketing agency. We've been around for 10 years. As you mentioned in your intro, we work with companies across the board, not just in healthcare, but we certainly do work in healthcare and specifically in senior care with several clients as well. And our YouTube channel is really our outlet for where we share some of our learnings and our podcasts and some of the experiences we have working on our campaigns. But really what we do on a day-to-day basis is help our clients tell their stories and grow their brands.
One of the reasons that we sought you out is your video work. Mm-hmm. We need more video in our industry. People want to see elderly people smiling. They want to see elderly people's stories. There's so much to give. And so it is just something as an industry that we could get so much better at. If you're a senior living and you want to get started doing video, what would your recommendations be?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, one of the ways in which we got our initial start and put ourselves on the map 10 years ago was we made a short documentary about one of the last surviving paratroopers from D-Day, who at the time was 92. And as part of that documentary, we actually facilitated him to return to the actual plane that he jumped out of on D-Day. And with his family and great-grandchildren, we actually flew on that plane again and kind of captured that experience. And that was what made our first introduction to National Geographic and the Atlantic magazine and some of our initial clients in that space. But it's kind of funny to be talking about this 10 years later, because even though that wasn't like for a senior care organization per se, it was still about telling stories about seniors and kind of the things that they have to offer. But to answer your question more directly, to us, it's all about storytelling. And we've talked previously about, obviously you need to obtain the permissions and get the ability to film and to capture these stories. But when you're in a senior care organization, whether it be, a residence or home care or, what have you, there are so many stories around you. And it's not about having a 4K cinema camera in place. It can be as simple as sharing a moment or capturing a moment on an iPhone and just creating something that's going to be relatable to people that want to check in on their loved ones and see what's going on. And so I am a huge advocate for organizations in your world to be doing more content creation kind of at all levels, even if it's just user generated with an iPhone.
I agree. There's so many stories. I mean, seniors, they've lived a life and they've done many different things. And it's often that you discover someone has some amazing story or some amazing background, and you just got to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And I find that they love sharing this stuff, and they
Hmm.
love social media.
Hmm.
So, um, my team members got in touch with you and have a healthcare worker in your life also that
Yeah.
work in senior living.
Yeah.
Give us some background on that and
Yeah.
tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife works in the administrative office for a in-home care company. They have locations kind of all over the Southeast, but we're in Nashville, Tennessee. Her company's called Avenues Home Care. And so I've kind of been exposed to the world of senior care a little bit and some of the challenges with marketing in that world. And our organization has kind of supported her company in various ways from time to time. So I've gotten a chance to, go to trade shows with my phone just to snap a few pictures for them and check in on how their website's functioning and things like that. So it's been really cool to get exposure to the challenges of that world specifically. And like you said, I think my biggest takeaway is that it's a world and an industry that can benefit from more content. Like a lot of what you find online for providers and companies is pretty rudimentary, understandably so, because they're focusing on the care that they're giving. It's not their top priority, or at least in their mind, it's not. And so there could be so many stories told on the ground of what's going on, how each organization's benefited seniors in the population. So that was my biggest takeaway, but it's been cool around the dinner table to kind of hear the day in, day out challenges of that world and, share my 2 cents about what might be able to benefit her company. But they're doing incredible work, not just in Tennessee, but across multiple states. And it's a really needed service too, especially with the aging population and folks living longer. And the content is not just a fuzzy feeling when you see it. It's also, as you've talked about extensively, it's educational for adult children who need to find answers for what's going on with my parent. How can I care for them best? And so that's really been our mission when we've worked with not just my wife's company, but also other companies in healthcare or in senior care. It's creating content that tells a story, but also informs and educates and shares a little bit of information that might be beneficial to that adult child that is looking to find an answer for their loved one.
We have been in industry, assisted living particularly, we've been in industry that has heavily relied on referral sourced companies like A Place for Mom and caring.com. There's a number of them out there. And it's really unfortunate that there is this belief in our industry that your digital marketing, it is A Place for Mom or caring.com. What, in your expert opinion, what are we missing when we're putting so much faith into that being our digital marketing?
Sure. Yeah. So the challenge with referral sites like that is it can become somewhat transactional. They're getting a lot of those people who put their information out there don't realize that their information is going to multiple parties that are then calling them, and they're getting inundated with phone calls, and it can feel a little bit less personal, which is obviously not the objective when you're going to be caring for them and you're going to be having a personal relationship with them as part of your business relationship with them. And so what we've seen is, from a marketing standpoint, and particularly from a content standpoint, developing a content system that informs, educates, and builds trust with those folks, as opposed to try to access them as, a transactional business opportunity. And I know that's easier said than done, because these organizations are businesses and they need leads and they need conversions to keep their business going and to grow. So I totally understand the desire to have an inbound lead system that you can rely on. And I know a lot of organizations do Google Ads, SEO, other techniques digitally that can help. But from a content standpoint, what we've seen both from a recruitment standpoint as well, because a lot of what we've seen in home care particularly is a need for caregivers, a need for nurses, a need for people that are trained up and have a desire to do the work and have a passion for the work. That can be really challenging. It can be competitive amongst providers. And so what we've seen is creating content that educates, informs, and also allows you to connect with the personalities that exist within your company is a really powerful marketing tool, not just from a brand building perspective, but also from a recruitment perspective, getting prospective caregivers excited about the environment that you're creating. And that can look a number of ways. I think in your world, I know, Angie, you've talked about showing off different sweet moments that are happening around your facilities. And like that can be a great way. In home care, it can look like testimonial content, a child talking on camera, an adult child talking on camera about they made this experience that was a really difficult time, a really smooth process. Because when you see that on video, it's really hard to falsify that. It's really hard to fake that. And that's why video is such a powerful tool, and why, one of the main reasons I love what we get to do is you're telling the authentic stories of people that can really make an impact. So testimonial content is really key. Another component is educational content. We call them video sales letters, which basically is, it can be this type of format, like a podcast format, where someone from within the organization is kind of giving a 2 to 5 minute rundown on a particular topic. Like, it's back to school season. It's the heat of summer. Like, here are things to be aware of when you're thinking about heat exhaustion or signs to look out for, like that type of information. Because as you, as a brand, develop that type of content system and people find it, they immediately will associate you with being the leading expert or the person in their area that really knows about these topics. So
I love that.
Yeah.
You're speaking my language for sure. One of my frustrations with the industry as a whole is our dependence on referral agencies. In 2022, we cut all of our contracts with these referral type agencies because they send you this referral, but they're also sending it to all of your competition.
Yeah.
Why would you want to even enter that circle where your lead is coming in, but they're also sharing it with your competition?
Yeah.
And you're going to pay that service who you just had to potentially fight for that move in, potentially $5,000 to $7,000 or $10,000, whatever it ends up being. It just seemed so wrong. And then they didn't disclose how they were getting paid. They promote themselves as a free service, but yet they don't disclose how they're getting paid. And then when we ended our contract with them, and they also have their own internal star rating system, which seems shady because how does that work? Your star rating should be your Google reviews. But how does that work to the consumer? The locations that have contracts with them, are they going to have a higher star rating? I mean, if they're in control of that, you would think that's probably the case. So there was just so many shady things about it. When we left, we found out, because we go on there and secret shop, all of our locations still come up in the searches. We're still there.
Interesting.
But our star rating now is not as high. Probably because we're not contracted. If someone picks us, they don't get paid. So in the state of Wisconsin, they've introduced legislation to, in regards to referral companies, they do have to disclose that how they get paid to the consumer. So it has been, in just my opinion, it is a bit predatory how they do their business. And you're dealing with families that are at their most vulnerable at that time. So I'm totally with you to build your own brand, to build your own story, build your brand so that people just want to come to you. You're not competing with the competition. You're not put on the same level as all the competition in town, because not all, we know, not all healthcare agencies are the same.
Yeah.
There's good ones, and unfortunately, there's ones that aren't as good.
Yeah.
So building your own brand and being in the driver's seat of that, the industry, I think it's time. I think it's a huge opportunity for organizations such as yourself to break through this mindset that it's so dated at this point. There was probably a relevant space for these companies years ago, but I just don't see it anymore. I think you can control your own brand, and companies like yours have such an opportunity to help our industry out of this rut that we've been stuck in with these placement agencies. And the other real obstacle that I see happen in our industry is that anytime we have a national conference, they're the big sponsors.
Yeah.
So no one wants to talk about it, but everybody in the room hates dealing with them. I haven't found anybody who said, I love dealing with these agencies. I think senior, and you're talking about, just to give you an idea, in our organization, we were spending nearly $175,000 a year on placement services. So this is a huge opportunity. Just think, you as a marketing company, if someone said, we're going to end these contracts with these placement agencies and we're going to give you, $175,000 to market with, what could you do with that?
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. Like, and the typical objection that we see when we tell people, hey, you need to be making content and building your brand this way, is, who's going to listen to our podcast? Who's going to watch our videos on Facebook? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? How is there going to be an ROI from that? And it's hard to get those people over the hump, because you're right. Maybe the first 3-6 months, you might not see kind of an inflow of leads as a result of this. But what I will say is it will build brand in ways that you don't expect. And it is significantly less expensive now than it was 3, 5, 7 years ago. Like, even when this podcast format has allowed us as an organization who historically has primarily worked with Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 brands, to open up our service suite to a lot smaller organizations, because the cost of production can be so much lower when it's done virtually. Or if we can instruct folks on how to capture some clips on their phone that then we can put into our kind of marketing content ecosystem. And so the playing field is leveled. Like, you can be creating content consistently that will build your authority and your brand. And the ROI comes from, if you're doing a podcast, the relationships that you're building based on inviting guests on the podcast. Think about one of the other most powerful client acquisition strategies in the senior care world. It is referrals, not referral agencies, like in-person referrals of people that you know in the community that you develop relationships with. If it's a social worker, if it's a nonprofit leader, even if it's just someone from your church that, knows someone that needs a service. How can you develop those relationships? By inviting them on a podcast is a great way. No one says no to, that I should take that back. Very few people say no, because it's a form of flattery. And especially if they have something to say, right? Like, it might be a little weird if it's just like random Joe Schmo come on my podcast. But I'm thinking in the senior care world, like insurance, folks in the insurance world who are doing long-term care insurance, great guest, like legal counsel for folks that are kind of planning their estate planners, financial planners. Those are great people. If you're just in a specific geographic area, invite those people on your podcast to share their expertise. That's going to be a cross-promotional tool where they're going to benefit because they're educating their audience, and you're going to benefit because now you're exposing yourself, whether it be via LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, to their audience as well. And now they're going to think, oh, if I need this service when my parent has a challenge, that's a great place to start. So I don't even know exactly how we got on this topic. I just went on an impassioned rant, but I think the ROI comes from the relationship building and the trust that you build directly with the audience that you're building. It's hard to see it in the first 3 months, but it is so worth it because you're building something that's unique to you and not relying on an outside source.
My message to the industry is it's time that we get caught up. We're always 10 years behind when it comes to marketing. And it's time. This is what the consumers see. This is how the consumers pick the businesses they want to work with nowadays. And it's just time. And the old way of doing things, we need to get better at it. Industry and industry leaders need to get better at saying, how is that working for us? How is that working for us? I've heard so many industry leaders saying that since the pandemic, they're trying to get their census back up. And that's how they get paid. And they're so often we're afraid to talk about how we get paid in this industry. You get paid by the people that come in and you provide the services too. Well, we want to get our census up, and then here I'm going to hire this consultant so they can come in and tell me how to get our census back up. But we don't want to market, and we don't want to change how we market, but we want our census up. I mean, it's the definition of insanity. And some of these podcasts out there, I can't even listen to because they just regurgitate the same thing over. There is no new ideas because we're still stuck doing the same things. And one of the things when I have talked to some of the marketing companies in the industry, and before I decided to bring marketing internally, I talked to marketing companies that were within the industry. And the problem I've seen with marketing companies that are within our industry is that they have followed along with what assisted livings tell them what they want done. And they're not really bringing new ideas to the table either. So this was part of my struggle when I was looking at the time. I went to a trade show and I picked up a few cards. This is why we found you, and we've seen you guys do stuff different.
Yeah.
But we pick up a few cards, and then we go out and I said, show me who your customers are and who you're serving now. And they give me some names like, oh, we work with this one, this one, this one. None of in our market, like different parts of the country.
Sure.
Show me what you guys, and I go out and I look at their Google reviews, and they haven't had a Google review in 8 months, and they're being paid. And I was like, well, I don't want to rely on placement agencies. So if a consumer comes and looks at me and I don't have any Google reviews, that's how I go out and look at when I'm shopping for a new service or a new company. But yet senior living, it's talk about secret sauce. It's not secret, but I can go out in most of our markets right now and I can look at our competitor and I can tell you that either their Google reviews are all negative and they're not responding to any of them, or they haven't had a Google review in 9 months, or they're not doing anything with it.
Yeah.
Yet they're paying a marketing agency. How does that work in your world? Yeah. Can you even wrap your mind around that?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Like Google reviews, especially in geographically specific service businesses, are so important. Like in terms of our business, it's not quite as important because there's kind of other industry review tools. Like we still keep an eye on our Google reviews, but a lot of the work that we do is kind of all over the country. It's not like searching for a video company in this specific zip code, although that does happen from time to time. But in your world, like I need senior care or I need this in this zip code.
Near me, yeah.
Near me, not only does it obviously create a first impression, like if it's a 5-star review, that's a great impression, but also SEO is inextricably linked to your Google performance as well. Like if you're, like you said, responding to comments, making sure that you maintain a healthy stream of reviews that are coming in, starts launching you up the results organically when people search for you, at least the way that the Google algorithm works now. And the funny thing is, the other things that launch you up the Google results are consistent content output on your website, which can be written content or more powerfully video content. Google loves seeing that you're publishing consistent video content. And so there's no like you said, there's no secret sauce. There's no like one thing. It's a collection of things that together make a engine that keeps your brand top of mind, builds authority, builds trust, and makes people have a good first impression of you when they encounter you digitally, which none of it's easy. I mean, I think that there are basic steps that you can take that aren't crazy jump off the cliff type steps, but it is hard to be consistent about it. And we understand that the care is the most important thing. So like that is where a lot of attention goes, but it's really important to get more clients to maintain that reputation online and consistently drive value for the people that are coming and experiencing you for the first time.
Absolutely. And I think as an industry, we need to get out of the marketing paralysis of it used to be you just hired a marketing agency and they did everything for you. And unfortunately, you have to have a hand in it. And you have to be doing some things. And you should want to do those things. It's your bragging rights. But I've been at think tank circle tables at conferences and we're having open discussion about what are you doing and what are you doing? What are you doing? And people look at you horrified when you say, we ask for Google reviews. And they're like, well, I don't want to ask for a Google review. What if they put something negative? Well, I'm going to tell you, they're going to put something negative without you asking for a Google review. The whole point of asking for a Google review is to have a positive, because you're going to ask for Google reviews from your people that are happy. And,
well, it's also sorry to interrupt, but it's also a hand raise for like it all works together, right? If you want to get permission from someone to speak about their experience with you on camera to kind of enter into our world a little bit, a Google review is a great hand raise opportunity. If as soon as they leave a 5-star review and say, I had such a great experience, it's not weird then to send them a message and say, hey, saw your review. We're really appreciative that you had such a great experience. Would you mind saying something on camera for us? Like, cause you then know that they're going to say something positive if they had a review. So just kind of tying those ends together there.
Yeah, and the consumer knows when it's your employees leaving the reviews and not sometimes I've got all of my employees to leave reviews. Well, guess what? Us consumers are pretty smart because they're savvy because these information formats are out there. So they know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great conversation. I'm not even following along with my questions at this point. The team
good.
is going to start waving at me. Hiring is a constant issue, of course, in our world. And you pointed out that being able to showcase what you're doing is a great way for people to say, hey, look at the cool stuff they do.
Yeah.
And that's an opportunity to be attracting employees. Do you think the healthcare industry as a whole, there's a huge opportunity to be attracting employees using video?
Absolutely. And I can talk about it from kind of the highest level all the way down to kind of geographically specific local home care situations as well. So at the highest level, one of our clients, Simple Nursing, it's an e-learning tool online to help new nurses prepare for their like testing to get, their certification and start working in the nursing field. And so they're one of our clients. And several years ago, we worked with them. They're like pretty big. I mean, they have, YouTube channel with millions of subscribers, and every nurse I know said, oh yeah, I've watched their videos to prep for my test taking. So we worked with them several years ago. We brokered relationship between Simple Nursing as an organization and several hospital systems around the country. So Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles, University of Maryland Medical Center in Baltimore, among a few others. And what we did was we created a training program using staff at these hospital systems. So nurse preceptors and the heads of departments and things like that, kind of giving advice to new nurses who are entering the field. Like, here's what to expect in your first year. And it was divided between the different kind of types of nursing areas. So, ICU versus like all the different other types of areas. And we would have these professionals say like, hey, it's going to be really tough. You're going to see things that are really difficult. And this is how you have work-life balance. And I think it was like 2 or 3 hours of content from these hospitals that are considered kind of the premier in their respective regions and nationally. And it was used not only as a kind of a tool for simple nursing to provide value to their, subscriber base and people that use their tool, but it also was used, and why the hospital systems wanted to partner in this endeavor, as like a recruitment tool, because they were showing their expertise, their staff, their people that have been in the industry for decades, kind of giving this wisdom and advice, talking about work culture, talking about work-life balance, and getting that exposure to the new nurses that were entering the field. So we've essentially created like a recruitment funnel to these hospital systems. Not that a Cedars-Sinai or University of Maryland needs, more brand recognition. Obviously, they're very respected in their own right. But to this audience of Simple Nursing subscribers, it was really cool to kind of make that connection and make that bridge. So that was just one way we use video, at the kind of the higher level. But using that same idea, a local home care agency in central Pennsylvania in the Harrisburg area, incredible company. They're called Home to Stay PA. I also think, as a side note, they would be an excellent guest for you all at some point. But they're really, really wonderful people, family run, and what we did with them was, you guys are already having these incredible conversations about patient stories and employee stories, and like why the nurses. Let's just get you guys a webcam, get you guys a microphone, and just, instead of having these conversations on a Zoom call, let's have it on a recorded Zoom call, and then we'll start splicing up that content. And we've been doing that with them for 6-7 months now, and they're not as sophisticated as an organization like yours in terms of like all the in-depth analytics probably, but I mean, they definitely hold their own and their website's strong and all that. But they've said, like, anecdotally, like, we've seen people seeing the content that are, coming in, applying for jobs. And then also on the marketing side, there's been positive movement from a client acquisition standpoint too. But I say all this to say, we touched on it earlier. The playing field is leveled. Like, it is a fair game for anyone to be creating content easily these days, and it's not as expensive as it once was. And people connect with authentic human storytelling. And so your question about acquiring the opportunity to hire or recruitment, in the same way that clients want to see that their mom or their dad is going to be taken care of, people who are applying for jobs want to see that this is a caring, loving, understanding work environment, and I'm going to get to do meaningful work. And so content where the owners of the company are saying, I believe in this company and I put my own parent here because I know that the nurses really care and they're so fulfilled. And there was one clip that we created where one of the employees was talking about how, she needed maternity leave and they worked something out. It wasn't part of their original arrangement or something to that effect. And, it was going to be more time than she had initially anticipated, something like that. And they worked it out because they're a business that cares about the human experience. And man, to be an employee seeing that clip, or a potential employee, that's powerful. And that makes you want to apply. That makes you want to seek out the organization. So I know that's a little long-winded, but the power of content can be seen at all levels from a recruitment standpoint.
I agree. I've often stepped out and have openly said, do we have a healthcare worker crisis or do we have a healthcare management crisis? And, I I follow some of the videos that I watch on TikTok or other platforms and with nurses. And there's a lot of people that watch what nurses have to say, good and bad. There's nurses that have a positive spin, and then there's nurses that tell you all the horror stories.
Yeah.
But the reality is there are places that there's no doubt it's mismanaged. They don't have staff. People don't want to come to work for them. And so then you've got contract nurses too that are making content talking about nursing horror stories. Well, you're a contract nurse. What do you think you're going to get hired to do? That's why you're getting paid twice as much as the average nurse, because they're hiring you to come into the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And so, but to get back on track, if you are trying to change your image, trying to start someplace with video content or marketing, what would you recommend, and where would you start? Because those of us in healthcare, we know how to take care of people, and that probably seems very scary to you. And marketing is easy, right? And marketing seems like the big elephant in the room. It's very scary to them. So where do you even begin to start, and how do you navigate HIPAA? People are very afraid of HIPAA also, because nobody wants to go to prison for 10 years. So where do you begin?
Yeah, absolutely. So I completely understand the concern about privacy and always get permission. There's consent forms that you can find online that are pretty robust, just to get a signature to have someone consent to using their image in marketing. But I would say if you're a little nervous to kind of get a patient story because of the HIPAA stuff, a great place to start is just with your internal team and the leadership on your team, or if there are any standout employees who are really passionate about what they do. We found that clients and kind of the outside audience is really excited to learn about the story of the organization itself too. So that's a great place to start, especially if there's someone charismatic or someone that's not afraid of the camera on your team. Just getting them to answer basic questions. We find that we kind of have two general frameworks when we talk about remote recording like this, which is one is video podcast, which is just host guest. And we already talked about how that can be beneficial from a marketing standpoint, just to invite other key opinion leaders in your area, whether that be lawyers or estate planners, et cetera. The other format that we talk about is what we call video sales letters, which are essentially educational videos that talk about a specific topic that might be beneficial to your ideal customer when they're seeking out these types of services. And so what we've done in the past is like break it up by season, for example. So in the dead of summer, things to be aware of for seniors when you're thinking about the heat and heat stroke and this and that, the other thing. That can be as simple as an iPhone and someone knowledgeable on your team that can answer those questions. Figuring out what the most frequently asked questions for your business are when you pick up the phone, what are the things that people are asking about, and turning those answers into questions that you then record. That is like the easiest way to start with content. It might not be as compelling as a patient story right off the bat, but that's okay. It's sharing your expertise, and it's establishing yourself as an authority. So, I mean, everyone has a 4K camera in their pocket these days. It's not expensive even to level that up a little bit. It's not that expensive to get, a basic phone tripod, a basic microphone. It's really not that crazy. It's more about what's on screen and answering questions that are relevant to what people are searching for. So that's where I would start.
And I think people want to hear from the leaders as well. Who's in charge of that location or that business, and who are they? And, can we trust them? So they're never going to answer those questions when they never see the heads of the organizations, and getting to know them. And I think that's a huge opportunity that's often missed in our industry as well, that the leaders, they're not out there, talking about what they're doing.
Yeah.
and who they
Well,
are and what they
and you've,
represent. You mentioned family owned. What a
yeah,
great message for the consumer right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
So
And you've mentioned in other recordings and previous conversations, healthcare, you have to have a why to be doing it. I mean, I guess you don't theoretically have to, but the best healthcare workers are people that really have a calling and a passion for the work. Turn that into a story that you put on camera. Like, it's not making anything up. It's telling your story as to why you got started in this field. People connect with that. Not even just in healthcare, across the board. Whenever we're making corporate videos for big corporate companies, why do you do this? Why do you want to come in every day? How do you feel like you're making an impact? Whether it be a financial advisory or whatever, there's always a why at the core. And so, in addition to answering frequently asked questions, one of those questions can be why. Why did you start this? Why do you run this? Why do you care? And how are you making an impact?
well, I think we might need a part two for this conversation, Stephen.
Yes.
And I agree with you so much on so many of these things, which is very thought provoking and should be thought provoking for industry leaders out there, that we do have to change how we look at marketing, how we think about marketing, and really utilize our dollars wisely.
Yeah.
Um, and are you really seeing a return? And it does take time. Speaking from experience, it is a long-term investment when you begin in the beginning, but the rewards are well worth it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and tell us again how anyone who wants to reach out to you for some great marketing advice, how would they reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute blast. You can find us at sevenwonders.com. That's the number 7, WONDERS.com. I hope I spelled that right. I think I did. That's just the best way to reach us to find out more. There's our podcast you can find on that page. If you want to launch your own podcast, it's on that page as well. So, that's the best way to get in touch.
Well, I really appreciate the conversation, and I do think that we'll have to talk about a part two,
Yeah.
because I think there's so much information that it's really hard to capture in one episode. There's so many possibilities for marketing senior living nowadays, and the sky's the limit. And it's really time to get out of what we've done to onto the next thing of what we should be doing. So thanks for
Yeah.
being on the show, and thanks for the great conversation.
Yeah. Thank you, Angie.